I'm going to show you how to make this little tidbit, and it is so cool. And it's actually a little sculpture that I made, and it holds my rings. It's got a mermaid, a couple of dolphins, and a really beautiful textural background. And I'm going to show you how to make this right now, so let's get started. Here's the supplies we're going to use today. I've got the mermaid mold, which is pretty new in the shop at Polymer Clay TV, and the set of 6 floral stamps. I just picked the 2 that I liked. I've got a 3-inch cookie cutter and a little dome that's made out of metal. And this is just a found object that I use a lot in the studio, so when you see things like this, keep them around. I've got some Pearl-Ex powder. The color I'm using is called Duo Green Yellow. I have a poker just to do some designs. This is a rubber 2-ended. One is a flat end and the other is like a round pokey thing, and they're soft rubber. I got them from a place called Mora's More on eBay. A nice sharp clay blade, and I've got some glaze and a brush and a rag. That's going to be for antiquing the project when I'm done. And then the clay I'm using is a half and half mix of Sculpey 3 translucent and Fimo Effect transparent white. So you mix those together and you get this really nice translucent color. So I'm going to do a little molding and show you how I'm going to start this project out. So with this mold, it's really nice and flexible. And let's say we're going to mold this mermaid. So I'm just going to condition up the clay and then make a log that will fit her fairly well. And this is a very tiny amount of depth to fill here, so it's really a small amount of clay. And then I'm going to use my blade here to split the tail so that I can start here, smush the clay into the mold. And for this project, I'm not molding her arms. I'm just molding straight up to her face. And then you can use your blade to gently scrape off the excess, because it's pretty easy to overfill these tiny little molds, and I don't want that much overfilled clay. I want to clean up around the sides. Just be gentle here so that you don't actually cut your mold. Okay, and then she will probably just pop right out. Okay, and I also did a couple dolphins, and that's kind of the same thing. So these molds are so nice, you don't really need a release with them. The clay is going to come right out. And just make a little log. And if you want to, since the dolphin has a tail too, you could sort of split the clay so that you can smush it out around that little tail. But what you really want to be sure is that you're filling all these little edges here, because the dolphin has a mouth and a little dorsal fin, so you want to make sure the clay gets into those parts. And then just shave off the extra. And then pop out the little dolphin. Okay, so I've got the project started here, and this is where we're going with it. This translucent clay often bakes especially if you overbake it a little bit, like for too long, into this really pretty color that I like, and I did it on purpose. So you can underbake, you know, like just bake enough and it'll stay sort of a whitish translucent color. Or you can overbake it just a little bit, leave it in the oven too long, and you get this sort of aged ambery looking thing, which is where I was going with it. And I've also got one mermaid here that's already done. And I'm actually going to back this mermaid onto her little twin so that she's double-sided, and just sort of coax her shape onto the back of another one that's already baked. And use your little sculpting tools to kind of make sure that all of the parts and pieces are coming to the edges. And then what I did with the coloring is I just hit the highlighted tops of her with this pretty green gold color. So that when she was baked, she looks like that. So I'm just going to make sure that she's all stuck together. And this is a project you're going to probably bake multiple times, which is fine. You can bake polymer clay as many times as you want. Because what this mermaid is going to be is a little, she's going to stand here and hold my jewelry. So she's going to be, for some reason this ring keeper thing is on my mind lately, so she's going to be like an upright little ring keeper. And how I did this, okay, is that to get this to stick on here, I just want to show you there's a trick to that. What you need to do is take a piece of clay, and this has been rolled to a medium thin number 4 on my pasta machine. Cut it out with your circle cutter. And then what you're going to see is that this piece of clay wants to be flat. It doesn't really want to be round. So you're going to hold it down in the middle and start bending it and sticking it. And you might have to sort of coax it to go into that bent position. And you see like some of it might want to stick up a little bit, but you just sort of help it go flat with your thumbs or your fingers. And you just want to keep it going flat down to the edge, just by sort of bringing it together and helping it, gently nudging it, because you don't want it to ripple too much. You want to just nudge the clay into this rounded shape. And then if you do get some air bubbles, you can just gently pop them out and smooth them down. And then what I did was I took these and just go around the edges to pattern it. And it's a very subtle effect, but these patterns are nice, and then you can highlight them with your powders to bring them out, so that after baking you get something that looks like that. And then I just took my little dolphins and arranged them around how I wanted them before baking, and then highlight those with the powder as well. And then after it's baked, it's on here and you can just pop it off. So I'm going to keep working on this one that's partially baked, and I'm going to give my mermaid a little sort of rocky ledge to stand in. Just by putting a little piece of clay here on top in the middle. And then I'm going to shove her tail down into it, and this is why she's partially baked. And then I'm going to use this to sort of texture this part that she's standing on. And while I'm texturing, I'm also like pushing down to make sure everything's all stuck. Okay, and then if you want, you can maybe put like I was going to put like a little twisty rope around the bottom. So for that, you can make a snake. I'm going to show you a really quick and easy way to make a twisted rope. So you want to make 2 snakes. You want to try to keep them from having bumps in them, so you're going to use both hands when it gets a little longer and sort of pull it out from the center. So you're pressing and pulling to get it longer and thinner. And then this is the fun part. I'm going to put them together, and then we're going to hold one end and spin. And then you can use your fingers to really make it even. So I'm just holding on to one side and spinning with the other. Okay, and then I'm going to wrap it around here to create a nice sturdy base. And then it's all going to go right back in the oven again, because like I said, you can bake polymer clay multiple times and it'll be fine. So you might want some of your project to already be baked while you work on other parts of it, so that you can like hold on to it and press on it and manipulate it without ruining it, which is what you'd want to do with a project that has stamping on it like that and molded pieces. And when you're cutting these snakes, you want to cut them in between a join, so that when you bring it around, it doesn't look too much like you had a seam there. And then just make sure it's all stuck onto the actual clay part. And then I'm also going to highlight the rope with this color. And then the whole thing is going back into the oven for another ½ hour to make sure that it's all set and baked and that the colors are going to match. So we're out of the oven, and I'm going to leave it on here for support while I'm messing with it, but our little mermaid is cool and she's well attached, and I'm just going to do a little antiquing. So what I have here is a glaze, and this color is russet brown. It's a plaid decorating glaze. You can also use regular acrylic paint if you want to. And I got these at the hardware store. It was just a package of rags. So I'm just going to put this into all of my cracks, put it around everything, get it in the cracks. And then you just take your rag and wipe it off the high points. So what it does is it makes everything look sort of aged. This is called antiquing. It also can kind of bring everything all together and make it look really unified, because everything, every part of your artwork has this sort of same color brushed onto it in all the cracks. It can really make the difference between making something that looks just okay with something that looks really professional. So it's really just a matter of brushing it on and wiping off from the high points and just leaving it in the cracks of everything. And you can heavily antique or lightly antique. It's really up to you how much you want to wipe off and how much you want to leave on the piece. But really what you're looking for is to have all the cracks and nooks and crannies to have this color sort of left in there, wiped in there, because it just ends up making it look like it's not fresh off the shelf. It's a little bit old. It's been loved on a bit. You can go back and keep doing it until you're satisfied with how much paint is still left on the piece. And it really helps to bring out some of the details. So we're just going to let that dry. Or if you're like me, you can, hit it with a heat gun to speed the process. And now I'm just going to pop this off the base for one final time. There we go. And I've got this really super cute little spot where I can stick my rings. And I do have lots of rings lying around everywhere, so it's going to be great. I saw something like this, I'll just share with you, in a catalog, and I just felt like, wow, I have a mermaid mold and I can make something exactly like that, and I can make it myself and it'll be really cute, and I won't have to pay $50 for it. So there you go. Make sure that you come check us out on YouTube if you're seeing this on the blog at Polymer Clay TV on YouTube is our channel name. Make sure you subscribe for new tutorials every week. And come check out polymerclayadventure.com. That is the online virtual retreat for polymer clay. And if you loved this little tidbit, you're going to love the 24 classes and the fun stuff that we have every single week for a year. So that's polymerclayadventure.com. See you next time.